welcome everyone to this evening, and thank you for coming. And so my name is Eva McGuire, and I have a few things I'd like to explain to you before we get to our speaker, Jennifer. So first of all, tonight is a seminar that is part of our STRIDE leadership program. So if you're a STRIDE participant, like everyone here is, but not everyone in the camera is, you're familiar with our seminars, but it is more than just another monthly seminar. To start with, we have our fantastic speaker, Jennifer, but also tonight is a bit of a first taste for what will come up later in the year, which is the STRIDE workshop in February, and then the UNIV Inspire conference in April. So this is kind of like a mini taste or a mini event that will kind of help you understand what's to come in February and April. So to start with UNIV, so UNIV is an annual conference for university students in Rome, and it's for university students all over the world, and they all come together in Rome. So the first year of COVID, it got canceled, and the second year of COVID, it got put online, but otherwise it's been an annual conference since 1968. This year will be taking place April 10th to 17th, 2022. So to make the most of this conference, because it is week long and there is like, there are discussions, there's cultural like sightseeing, there's historical things. There's also like, it's also during Holy Week. So you get to like experience living Holy Week in Rome. But anyway, it's good when you go and you're kind of already prepared. So that's what we did with the STRIDE workshop. We're like, okay, for the female students going from Canada, at least they can prepare a little bit during the STRIDE workshop so that they go and like, they kind of know what to expect in Rome from a cultural, historical point of view. And also the other thing with UNIV is that it is a conference for university students, and there's a topic for UNIV. So each year there's a different topic, and they want these students who come to really think and be able to discuss it. So it's like also this way you come and you actually have something to say about the topic. Okay, so then UNIV is like international, and then STRIDE is kind of local at Kintor, but then we've also opened it up to the country. So people from across Canada and also other countries are welcome. So for you guys to know, both the STRIDE workshop and UNIV are available like in the hybrid format this year. But anyway, later on this evening, Tina, who is here, will be explaining exactly the logistics of these two workshops, because it's like, okay, exactly what's going to happen. But I just want to explain the relationship between tonight, the STRIDE workshop, and then UNIV in April. So both of these workshops are big, and tonight is a bit of a preparation. So the uniting thread, or the common thread amongst all these three things, is this topic, which Jennifer will be speaking about tonight, which is rebuilding together the strength of human connections, human relationships. So this is the theme that UNIV has chosen this year, and which we'll be looking at. Actually, this is the theme of all of our talks this year. So tonight, Jennifer will be speaking specifically about the strength of human relationships, and like how strength has played a role, throughout her life. So she'll be telling us more about that. So now a bio of Jennifer. So building on over 25 years of experience, Jennifer champions outside the box thinking, cultivating a strong sense of camaraderie, teamwork, inclusivity, and vision that has been instrumental in making RYCOM a leader in the smart tech space. Jennifer is a highly valued strategist, leader, and creates viable business solutions to complex problems. By promoting a culture that emphasizes collaboration, trust, and honesty, Jennifer lays the groundwork for a strong culture and superior business results. As a senior executive, Jennifer is actively involved in all stages of the process, ranging from initial strategy to ongoing optimization to ensuring processes and systems are aligned to drive ROI to all clients, enabling them to reach their short and long-term goals. So also, Jennifer is a mom of 2 teenage boys. As a certified life coach, she works with university and young professional women who want to live a passionate and fearless life. She enjoys spending time with her boys at the cottage, traveling, working out, reading, and learning. So welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here. It is honestly amazing to be back at Kintor. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys this evening about the strength of human relationships. And there's 2 actual stories I'd like to share with you guys that are very personal to me and have transpired over the last couple of years that will hopefully speak to what relationships can bring to moments in our life. And actually how we also build resilience. So before I jump into it, I have a question for you guys. So by show of hands, can any of you online or in person think of someone in your life that has had a positive impact? Could be a parent, a friend, a coach. One of you willing to share? You can just shout it out. So thank you for sharing that. And, as we reflect back on our life, we may not realize it or not, but it could have been a music teacher, a teacher at school. It could have been a stranger. It could have been a neighbor or a relative that in some way has had an impact on our life or potentially changed the course of direction we were in. Or we could have actually impacted someone's life in a way that we may not even realize. And so tonight I want to share with you two personal situations that have taken place in my life and how people played such a crucial role in providing support and encouragement. And two people in particular, I will be forever grateful because I truly believe they changed the direction and where I was going. So as Eva said, I am married. I have two boys who are now 14 and 17, but going back into so I'm 47 right now. So going back to my late 30s, I'll never forget one night we just moved into a new home and I was running up the stairs and I was completely gassed. I really didn't take good care of myself. And I thought, I have two young boys that play a lot of sports. If this is what my late 30s are going to be like, what does 40 and 50 and 60 start to look like? How am I going to keep up? So I decided to join a gym. And so I walked into a gym and asked to become a member. And it was probably one of the most intimidating moments of my life. Walking into a gym and seeing men, and more importantly, these women that were just in such phenomenal shape, lifting weights, doing push-ups, doing pull-ups. And I just thought, I don't think I should be here. And my coach, his name was Coach Paul, said to me, you know what, Jennifer, like everyone has to follow their own journey. And this is a process and we need to start with where you're at. And so, month after month, I was going to the gym and I was doing the workouts and I started to drop a couple pounds and start to feel a little bit better. But I was quite envious of these people that were running 10, 15, 20K full on marathons, women that were doing 10, 15, 100 pull-ups. I could never do that. And so as I got to know the gym owner a bit better, I love my job on the business side. And so he would ask me questions and we got to get to know each other a bit better. And I used to share with him, I really admire these women, what they're doing. Like I admire they can run 20K, but I could never do that. And so slowly I noticed that my workouts started to become a little bit more challenging. And he started having me run and I was running 1K. And then he encouraged me to go join a 5K obstacle course, which I did. And then he encouraged me to go do a 10K obstacle course, which I did. And then he encouraged me to go do the Tough Mudder. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Tough Mudder. So never in a million years, I think, in the early 40s, I'd be doing a Tough Mudder. And so I could feel that I was gaining some confidence, and he was recognizing that there was something in me that I could continue to push forward that I really didn't believe I could do. But he is the type of person that sees possibility in someone. And so it was November of 2017. He came to me and said, Jennifer, it's time for you to do something big. It's time for you to step outside of your comfort zone and do something that is literally going to scare the crap out of you, but that's going to bring you so much, like such a sense of accomplishment that you'll be on fire. And so he asked me to sign up to go and do a Navy SEAL camp in San Diego. So are you familiar with Navy SEALs? So if you watch like those military army type movies, they're wearing the utility pants and they're in helicopters and, they're fighting the bad guys in the world. And so this camp was actually designed by ex-Navy SEALs. And so I would have the opportunity to go to San Diego and train for 15 hours like a Navy SEAL. And so if any of you guys ever watch a movie that has military, you see them screaming at them, telling them that they're like horrible pieces of what, that's exactly what it was. And so for 8 months, my coach, Paul, trained me to get ready to go to San Diego to train as a Navy SEAL. And so I would work out 5 days a week. I was still working full time. I had 2 boys playing hockey. I needed to sleep well. I needed to eat properly. And so all of a sudden, I had this enormous amount of support of people. And what was really ironic was when Paul first suggested that I do this, I said to him, there's no way. Like, Paul, I'm 42 years old. Like, why would I spend all this time and money and go to San Diego to do this? Like, Jennifer, you can do it. And so, I spoke to my husband, I spoke to my best friend, I spoke to my teammates. And they're like, Jennifer, it sounds really interesting, but do you really want to do this? And so I went to him and I said, no, I'm not going to. And he said, the choice is yours. And you know, when you make a decision sometimes and your gut keeps like gnawing at you, like this isn't right, like you really should. Do you guys ever have that feeling, right? And so a week later, I went to my husband and I said, I'm doing it. And he knew there was no stopping me. And he asked me why. And I said, 2 reasons. I've actually realized in life, I've said no to so many things. And so, yes, I'm 42, 43 going to this, but I need to prove to myself that I actually can. And secondly, I need to show my boys that when you have committed yourself to doing something, that this is probably one of the best opportunities, like a life lesson, that when you really do put your mind to something, there's nothing that can stop you. And so I wanted to show them as their mom that I could do this. So my training started, it was 5 days a week, and I had Paul supporting me every single workout that I had. And what was so amazing was how my family came together to support me. So my oldest son decided that he wanted to be my workout partner. And so he came to the gym with me 5 days a week. My youngest son loves to cook, and I need to eat really healthy. And so my youngest son and I would do meal preps on Sunday. My husband wasn't as an avid gym person as I was, but he decided to join the gym as well because the whole family was rallying around this whole concept of being healthy. And so it was just amazing to see, because there were days I got injured. There were days I just literally dragged my butt out of bed after working full time and then going to the gym 5 days a week. And so having that support of people was really interesting. And I used to travel quite a bit for work. And so even when I traveled, I still had to work out because every workout counted. He talked about it being a process. And so if I missed a workout, it potentially put me behind. And it was really interesting. So I was traveling in Florida. I had to find a gym. And so I walked into a gym and I bought a week membership. And the gym owner came to me and said, Jennifer, can I ask, like, what are you doing? Like, I have never seen anybody come into my gym and do the things you are doing. Like, this just does not make any sense. And so I explained to him what I was training for. And he told me to come and sit down, and he wanted to tell me a story. And so his name was Mark. And so ironically enough, he had actually gone through Navy training and made it to Hell Week. Unfortunately, he got injured and had to was discharged. And he said to me, I'm going to give you a life lesson that you will hopefully take for the rest of your life. And so there was 3 things he shared with me. The first one was, if you are going to go and do this Navy SEAL training, because he knew the people that were running this camp, he says, you need to know why you are doing something. And your why must be so deep, and you must be so committed to it, that no matter what challenge you face or obstacle you encounter, you can surpass it. The second thing he told me is, whenever you start something new, it sucks. So if you think about it, if you haven't, ran for like many years, all of a sudden you jump on a treadmill, what does your body start telling you within 10 seconds of being on the treadmill? Oh my God, get off. Like, what are you doing? Right? And so he said to me, that first 20 minutes when you arrive in San Diego, it is going to suck. But you have to find a way. You must find a way to push through the suck part. And the third thing he told me is that everything in life comes to an end. Whether it is good or it is not, it will come to an end. And when you're in the midst of doing SEAL Fit, when you're in the midst of, this was an overnight thing. So when you're in the midst of the dark, or you're in the water, or you're tired, or you're hungry, or you have hypothermia, just remember that whatever you are experiencing will come to an end, and find a way to make it through. And so I took that as, so how am I going to apply it? And so sure enough, it's leading up to me going to San Diego. I'm like at the tail end of my training, and 6 weeks before, during the workout, I fracture a rib. And so I am almost 8 months into my training, and the doctor tells me that I will not be able to go to San Diego because my rib needs 3 months to heal. And so I was in Las Vegas. I called my husband, not even realizing my boys were on the phone, crying that it was over. that something had happened. And so I got a flight home. He brought me right, we were driving to the hospital from Pearson. And all of a sudden, this army truck comes flying by us. And he looks at me and he says, "You're going." That's the sign right there. And so I went to every sports doctor I possibly could to help me figure out how to be ready. And they all told me I couldn't be. But I decided I was going. Nothing was going to stop me because I had worked so hard that I wasn't ready to pull back. And so I went. And I made through that 15 and a half hours of no food, no water, no sleep, getting thrown in the ocean at 3 o'clock in the morning in the pitch black. I got trampled on. Like, it was nothing I'd ever experienced before in my life. And when I came out of the ocean about 4 a.m., I realized that I had actually passed the hardest part of this. And no matter what they threw at me for the rest of the night or morning, because we were waiting for the sunrise to come, which meant it was 6 in the morning, we were almost done, that I would make it through. And so when it was over and they rang the bell, I realized that what my coach Paul did was actually put me on a new journey or a new path. There was this fire that was lit inside me that I believed and realized that I had been playing it so safe in my life that it was time to actually live. It was just unfortunate. It took my mid-40s to get there, but that wasn't going to stop me. And so, having the support of Paul and my husband and my boys, right before I left for San Diego, the amount of people that have reached out with phone calls and texts and emails, I never realized how much people, what they thought of me, what they felt about me, and how much they admired what I was doing. And that brought so much strength and courage. And so what SealFit did for me, what Paul created, was for me to actually go and achieve something that I'd always wanted to do, was to become a life coach. I wanted to become a life coach for 10 years through an experience I had a number of years ago, but I was actually scared. I was scared to go back to school. I was scared to read out of a textbook. I was scared to write exams and papers and fail. And after SealFit, I realized the mental toughness and the physical resilience that came out of that. There wasn't anything I couldn't do. So the next day I signed up to go do my life coaching certification. And so the interesting part of that led me to a new experience. So here I am now working full time. I have my boys. I love the gym. And I'm now going to this coaching program, but I have to find clients to work with. I need 100 hours. Where am I going to find people? Who's going to want to work with me? And so interestingly enough, my youngest son, Daniel, and I were on a flight home from Rome in September of 2018. And within the first half an hour, my son asked to get up and go to the bathroom. And I asked the lady sitting beside me to get up. How many of you guys have been on a plane before? Yeah, everybody? Everyone's been on some kind of train, plane, a bus? What's the longest trip you've ever been?
8.5 hours.
8.5 hours?
11.
Yeah.
17.
17. 20? What did you do for all that time? What did you do?
I watched some money.
Right? Read, we put our AirPods in, we take a nap, we play cards. Well, fortunate for me that day, I decided not to watch a movie and not to read a book and not take a nap. But I got to meet Monique from Kintor. And so her and I spoke for 9 hours straight from Rome to Toronto. We talked about life and family and work and kids. We talked about Kintor. We talked about her triathlon. I talked about SealFit. I talked about my son, Daniel, and my son, Christian, who was still at home. And I talked to her that I was going through my life coaching certification. And she said to me, "Jennifer, I think there'd be such a great opportunity for you to come and bring life coaching to Kintor." And that's how this began. And so because of by chance, sitting beside Monique and us deciding to just have a conversation and be so curious and ask each other questions for 9 hours, helped me achieve something that I had always wanted to do and be so fearful was a way to give back to young women in post-secondary education and who are new young professionals to truly value who they are, to become fearless and risk takers. And so Kintor gave me that opportunity to work with a number of amazing women. And through that experience, I was able to get my life coaching certification. Have any of you ever heard the saying, like, who's in your boat? Yes? Any of you online ever heard the saying, who's in your boat? What does it mean to you, who's in your boat?
Well, it's like, it's kind of like who's in your corner, like a live rate. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, who's on your side.
Who's in your corner? I am a U of T graduate, and so Vic College was my stomping grounds. And it was a lot of fun going to school, and there was a lot of friends when you're having a good time. When life throws you curveballs, you really want to think about, so that was the letter that Daniel wrote, but that's okay. This is when I went to Sealfit. He wrote me a letter and he put it in my red sack. And he said to me, Mom, you are not to read this letter. You read it if you're going to quit. And so I had it with me the entire time. He put it in 2 Ziploc bags so it didn't get wet. And when I was done, Sealfit, like officially done, I went and opened it, and that was what he had wrote me. So it was to inspire me to stick it through a little bit, stick through a little more. You would have seen the letter, right? Yeah, so maybe just go to the last slide. Oh, right here, sorry, go back up. I apologize, right there. So who's in your boat? And sorry, what's your name?
Cassidy.
Cassidy, yeah, you just nailed it on the head. Who's in your corner? And so going through Sealfit, meeting Monique, going through my son Daniel's diagnosis and treatment, I realized who was in my boat. And what is so important, at the age of 40, I found amazing people in my life that I truly believe changed the trajectory of where I'm going. And if there's anything I could do, I wish I could go back to being your guys' age. I wish I had my boat filled with people like Paul and Monique, because I believe that with their support, my life could have actually taken a bit of a twist, a bit more fearlessness, a bit more risk, and a bit more curiosity. And so my offer to you guys is, think about today in your life, who's in your boat? How do they support you or not? How do they encourage you or not? How do they push you beyond your comfort zone or not? And regardless of age, there will come points in our life where we will get those curveballs. I got tested sooner than I hoped to. And so I've been able to figure out who's in my boat. And so, I encourage you to think about who is in yours. The Kintor program has an amazing mentorship program, the STRIDE mentorship program, that you may or may not be taking advantage of. And my offer to you is, you never know what a new connection might bring you. You never know what being curious and asking somebody questions and just getting to know who they are might offer you. And so if there's anything you take away tonight, is just think about, who do you have in your corner that is supporting and encouraging you? And for many of us like me, I have an amazing parent. I have amazing parents, and I have a brother and sister who are great. And they have a perspective of who I am and who I should be and what I should do. And sometimes having somebody that is sort of outside of your family circle, they can encourage you in a different way or help you realize something that you really are passionate about, but maybe you're just afraid or scared, or my mom's not going to want me to do that, or my dad's not going to want me to do that. And so sometimes they'll just give you that little bit of edge or that space or that place of trust and comfort where you can really talk about what's important to you and maybe find a way to get where you want to go. So I would just leave, there was one quote I wanted to. I'm sorry, right at the beginning.
I'm so sorry.
No, please, no, one more over. I apologize. It's right at the beginning. It's a Melinda Gates quote. And to me, it truly represents what I believe human connections are all about. Deep human connection is the purpose and the result of a meaningful life, and it will inspire the most amazing acts of love, generosity, and humanity. And I truly believe that with a good heart and good intention and looking to make real, true life connections with people, we actually can be of service to people in ways we had no idea. So thank you so much for having me tonight. PowerPoint
I'm so
slides.
sorry.
All right, any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question about like life coaching. So I like don't really know what I want to do after I graduate. So and like just in general. And so how do you help young women like find out what they want to do, and like what advice would you give to someone like me in like discerning that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do when I grow up either. So totally fair question. So what's interesting about a life coach is we're actually not there to tell people what to do. We're not actually there to figure it out. What we do is we engage through a lot of questions and conversation. Ultimately, you probably know what you love to do. You probably have a passion in there somewhere. And so it's helping you figure out what it is. Does that make sense? And it's a journey. You may not get it right the first time. The goal of it is, what can you learn from those experiences to figure it out? Who are people you might want to talk to learn more about what different career choices might be, so you can get a taste of what it is before you decide to jump in. And so the life coaching, conversation would be over a period of time. Like before we even got to, for example, what do you want to do in life? It's who are you as a person? What do you value? What are things you get the most excited doing? What are things you can't stand? Right? And so through that sort of conversation, you start to really figure out what direction or space do you want to move into. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions online or?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And I just was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to when you talked about your experience of needing to lean on other people, and how it actually for you was a moment where you discovered that was comforting for them to be able to help your family. But
Yeah.
speak a little bit to that, because sometimes we're scared to be burdens for other people, right?
Yeah.
And how maybe that your vulnerability or your whatever you want to call it, maybe you could speak to that, was actually an opportunity to build relation. I don't know if you see it that way, but through what you've said, I kind of see it that way. So could you expand on that a little bit?
Definitely. So two things. So one, what did leaning on others look like, and what were some examples, and how did that vulnerability build, better relationships or connections? For sure. So as I said, I'm very independent, right? And so sometimes it was the simplest of things. It was, first I had to tell my team that I couldn't be there 5 days a week. And I love my job. I love my team and my customers. And so part of what the process for me was what do I say no to? So I had to say no to being there every day for my team. And so I scaled back to part-time for a few months. Queenie had actually asked me to come and speak a couple times, and I said, I just wasn't ready. I had some things going on with Daniel. So saying no to things, although it hurt to say no, I knew it couldn't show up the way I wanted to. Asking my parents to go to the grocery store, or asking my mother-in-law to make a pot of sauce and drop it off at the front for me. Asking a friend to just let me call her and just, excuse me, just talk and cry. Asking my sister-in-law to run errands for me because my son Daniel had to stay in isolation, and so even going to the grocery store put him at risk. I just needed to touch something and bring it home. And so getting people to do groceries for me or pick up something, at the store was so imperative. And I think my team, seeing that I was being so honest with them about what was happening, and they could see that the emotion that had, taken over, because for many of my team members, I've been at the same company for 22 years. So I've seen it all. I've had my team members find partners, get married, have kids. I had a team member unexpectedly pass away. They've had, elder parents that have been sick. Some of them have been divorced. Some of their children had addictions. And so for 22 years, I had been there supporting my team, no matter what was going on in their personal life. And for the very first time, they were seeing me struggle with my son. And so that definitely showed them the sense of vulnerability that I had, that I at our company town hall in front of 90 people, I said to them, guys, I got to step away for a couple months. And I felt that took a lot of courage because I had always been the one that was there for everybody else. I think what it also showed them is that, despite I was asking during troubled times, they felt that they could support us in some way. It was interesting to me, and I don't know if any of you have gone through an illness in any of your close family or friends, is people want to be there for you. They want to support you. They're like the prayer groups that were going on with Daniel is just, it would blow my mind, the messages I would get from people, and they were so heartwarming. The reality of it was, though, nothing was going to change what was happening with Daniel. In my heart, I needed the doctor to say it was gone. I needed to hear that bell ring. But for people to give such love and support, I know many of them felt like they were helping in some way, and that made them feel good. The one thing I would also say that I forgot to mention is, my youngest son, Daniel, and my oldest son, Christian, they had to grow up pretty fast. We had to have some really, really hard conversations. And I think one of the gifts I take out of it is that it has made us even stronger than we were before. And I think that, a lesson I've also taken from this is no matter what we have going on in life, no matter how difficult it can be, there is a lesson, if we're willing to look, that we can take from that. And so just a quick story. The first night Daniel had got admitted to sick kids, I was there with him. It was 3 a.m, and he was in and out of it. And I looked at him and I had this vision that one day my son would be standing on stage, wearing a suit, telling young kids about his experience and how he had gotten through it. And a few minutes later, he woke up and he's like, Mom, I got to tell you, I just had the weirdest dream. I'm like, what was it? But he goes, I was on a stage and I was older, and I was telling these young kids that were sick like me how to get through this. And I said, so what does that tell you? He goes, I'm going to beat it. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, you are. We just got to figure out how. And so, I don't typically share that story because it sounds kind of weird, but it was just so ironic in that moment of a couple minutes, we both had the same. And that's the belief I held on to. I believed that Daniel would be okay. I just needed to find a way and find the people to help me get there. So that's a really long answer, but I hope I answered your questions.
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that great question. Anything else?
Yes. So you said earlier that if you had met more people like your coach, your life would have taken a twist.
Yes.
You would have been more fearless, more risk-taking. Why would that be important for you?
So it's interesting. I intentionally chose as a life coach to work with young women about your age, or maybe a year or two in the workforce, because I believe that for myself, I followed the path. Though I'm Italian, I have very traditional parents, right? Okay, I just saw that nudge. I don't know what that means, but so, for my parents, it was you go to school and you get really good grades, and then you go get a really good job, and then you go get married, and then you have kids, and life is good. And I'm not saying that isn't good. What I found was that there were things I wanted to do. Like I wanted to travel. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to live on my own. I followed the path that was already laid out for me. And there's nothing wrong with what's been laid out for me. I just feel that looking back, and also I wanted to box. I physically wanted to be a boxer. I wanted to get in the ring and I wanted to fight, but it wasn't what I was supposed to do. The closest I got to it was karate and kickboxing. And so I just feel that, we have the love and support. We could, in some cases, have the love and support for our families, but in many cases, they are projecting the life that they want us to have with all good intention. And what I realized in my 40s was that was all, good, but there were things I had a burning desire to do. And that if I just had that one person that just said, you know what, Jennifer, if this is what you truly want, How do you do it? How do you get there? What do you need to do? And I didn't have anybody like Paul in my boat at 20 or 25 or 30. And so I can't go back and change the past, but I can change what I do now. And so my way of giving back is to work with young women to truly value who they are, to really acknowledge what is important to them and what they value, and to live the life they want. Does that answer your question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so this is shifting gears to more networking. You talked about how networks, you talked about how networks are important, and of course they are. In the field that I'm studying, they're like crucial. And we get guest speakers in my classes all the time, which are great. And they say the same thing, like network, but it's like, okay, like it's one, yeah, exactly. It's one way to say it, but like, what are some practical tips that you could give for that?
Great question. What do you think is a practical tip you could do?
Okay, you're asking me what I think you're gonna say?
No. What do you think? What? So you asked a great question. So what do you do to start networking in your field? So I'm throwing it back at you. So what's one thing you could do to start networking in your field? Sorry, what is your field?
Sports broadcasting.
Okay. So what's one thing you could do?
Okay, so in this digital age, it makes communication a lot easier. So I'm on LinkedIn and I have my portfolio on there and everything. So I guess it's just taking that step and reaching out to someone who has a job that I want and asking them questions, but yeah.
Okay. So do you know one person on LinkedIn that has a job that you want?
Yes.
Who?
Oh, Marissa Roberto.
Okay. And are you connected with her?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you going to do?
Oh. I guess message her. We've spoken before. I had the chance to interview her for an assignment for a project years ago, so for last year, I guess. Yeah, so I guess I could ask her more questions.
So you guess or you will? And when are you going to?
Oh, next week.
What day next week? There's 7 days in a week.
I guess. Okay. Monday.
Monday?
Yes.
Any idea of what time?
Oh. Okay, Monday at 11 a.m.
Okay, so on Monday at 11 a.m., you're going to reach out to Marissa on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Okay, so who's one of Cassidy, right?
Yes.
Who's one of Cassidy's friends in here or online?
No.
Okay. So who is Cassidy going to reach out to on Monday at 11:01 to let them know that she reached out to Marissa on LinkedIn and asked her to chat? Who, what's your name?
Carolina.
Carolina? Okay, so you're like Carolina no, right? All right. Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else have any other suggestions for Cassie on how she can meet people in her network?
That's a good one.
I think if you have so many speakers, you have to be prepared to go always to with them. I mean, I think that people always like to welcome people. So you just, I think it's very easy to change mails or
So what was your name again?
Maria.
Maria, we've met before, haven't we? At one of the events? No?
No.
Okay, so Maria just gave you another idea. So when is your next speaker at one of your courses?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you're going to find out.
Okay.
Right? And what are you going to do when you find out who that speaker is?
Connect with them on LinkedIn. But okay, that's the.
Are your classes in person or online?
No, online.
Okay.
Yes, okay, so the last, maybe this is better. The last time we had guest speakers was literally last week. And I I sent the message or invite to connect with them on LinkedIn and one person did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with that one?
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, like, of course she's in the field and stuff, but like, she's not really doing something that I would want to do. I guess it's still valuable to have a connection though.
That's a great point. So maybe the person, and this is just for any of us, maybe the person we want to connect with isn't the person we actually want to. However, what could they potentially offer that could help you?
Right. But it's also like, what am I offering them to respond to me. You know what I mean? It's like, I can flatter you all you want, like, thank you for coming to my class today, you're amazing, like, you know, and say all the things, and then say, hey, here's my question, like, what's gonna motivate them to reply back and be like, I guess.
Great question. I still experience that every day in the work that I do as well. There are people I want to connect with, that I want to learn from. And some people want to give back. Some people want to give you that 15, 20 minutes, and some people don't, and that's okay. I think, and I'm pushing you to do a couple things, and all I'm suggesting is, if we want something that badly, we actually have to do something about it.
Right.
And so reaching out to people you already have, reaching out to new speakers. I've learned that you're going to get a whole bunch of no's before you get one yes, but that is the process that we need to go through. And through people, you will eventually get to the people. Your questions will be different. You may even have a whole different perspective of what you want to do, but it's reaching out. And that is 100% falls in your ability and how much you want to give to it. So you already knew what to do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I encourage you guys, like, while you're hanging out, you're having dinner, like, how do I expand my network? You guys all have different ideas. Like, your idea was great, you know, connect with the speaker. Good luck.
Thanks.
I don't know how I'm doing for time. Let me just check.
That's 8:29.
Wow,
Anyone else have any questions?
they're scared now.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
But I really loved your talk, and like I loved how you incorporated so many like stories about your life.
Thanks.
And like one of the most important lessons I've learned from your talk is that like it's important to realize what your passions are and set goals for yourself in life. But sometimes I wonder if like setting goals can compromise your enjoyment of the present moment sometimes, right? Because when you're going through like maybe skill training, like
Yes.
you think about the goals and you just try to, you know, like get through
Push
the
through.
suffering and like all the things that you have at the present moment. So like, how do you balance, you know, like enjoying the present moment with, you know, trying to achieve a goal?
Yes, sir. What's your name?
I'm Gabby.
Gabby, that's a fantastic question. So the one thing I can share with you is I actually did sacrifice a lot of things. So for those 8 months, I worked out, I brought my boys to hockey, and then I went to sleep. So I missed out on 8 months of enjoying a glass of wine on the weekends and going out with my girlfriends for dinners and going to parties because I needed to follow a routine to be at my best. And so, do you remember when I talked about the why? Like when you want something so badly, the why exceeds anything else that's going on. So did I miss out on some things? I absolutely did. However, my desire to prepare for SEAL Fit far outweighed this stuff, if that makes sense. I think sometimes it may also be looking at what are your goals? Like, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Is it that, you know, does timing potentially compressing it make you miss out on what's happening in the moment? I think that's a decision that you make depending on what that goal is, or what there might be other ways that you feel like you have more of a balance. Mm-hmm. But if what you're committing yourself to doing doesn't like burn and fire inside you, then my question would be, is that really what your goal should be? Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Brave souls. Asking questions. Cassie's wondering why she came. Yeah. Anything else? All right. Thank you so much, all the ladies online and all of you for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.